not do that.
Hey everybody, it's Stupid Fat Hobbit, and this is probably the shortest lived video I've ever made because this build's probably getting nerfed by the end of the week in about, what, 4 days now or something? That's assuming they patch on Friday, but I've been receiving a lot of requests to make a quick little summary of this build, so here it is. This is Bleeding Edge right now with the OP ailment stacking node, and this is what, depth 170, you pretty much shred everything. This build can go to 180, 187, like really easily. It's pretty much the strongest build in the game, which is probably why you're watching this video. So I actually didn't mean to hit next level there, so I'm going to back out and then go back in because, yeah, I wanted to go to town and just talk, so whoops. But yeah, so this is Bleeding Edge. So what is this? This is the skill, which there's an axe which circles around you and it does crazy amounts of damage. Why does it do crazy amounts of damage? That is because this node over here, not there, over here, is completely overpowered. This increases damage per ailment stack apparently does 20% more damage per ailment stack, which means you know, it's a multiplicative modifier, to use PoE terminology, and you can get a lot of ailment stacks. You can get up to 30 stacks of a particular ailment, and then you can apply multiple ailments. So you have 4 ailments, 30 stacks. That's 120 stacks times 20% more. You know, you do the math. It's a really fucking big number, and it's really overtuned, which is why this is the best skill in the game right now. Some other skills have this modifier as well. Gunslinger does, Bladestorm as well, but it seems like the one on Bleeding Edge, combined with the naturally high very base weapon damage of Bleeding Edge, makes this, you know, pretty much the strongest skill in the game. So yeah. Real quick, the other runes, increased AoE, Axe continues to spin. This is mainly for the +4 duration. You really need that, otherwise it only lasts like, you know, 2 seconds or so. Axe follows you as you move, and yeah, the element node. Passive tree. We've got, like, a lot of the passive trees in this game will tend to look roughly the same, you know, because there's only so many good nodes on the tree and a lot of the stuff is broken in the game right now. So obviously, you know, we go out through crit damage, crit chance, we take this. This is a more multiplier, by the way. This is really important. This took me a while to realize, actually, because I assumed this would be increased. And I assumed it would be a shorter duration. This is actually a more multiplier, and it has a 15-second duration, which means it's pretty easy to, like, kill a bunch of stuff and then have the buff still up while you go kill the boss, you know, massive increase of damage. Like, even with, like, 3 ailments, it was pretty much doubling my damage, so this is actually one of the few more multipliers on the tree. Again, probably an overtuned node, so you want it. This node over here, I've heard people saying, like, oh, it's minus 30% damage. Okay, first of all, this is additive, so that minus 30% is additive with this massive 600% increase we're getting from stats, so it really doesn't do shit. Plus 2 ailment stacks inflicted, doubling it over here means we inflict 6 stacks per time, which means even though our ailment status chances are not that high, you know, it's what, 25 and 12, we apply them consistently enough. You know, plus an initial ailment, self-explanatory, just read the damn thing. One of the better defensive nodes in the game. It's it gets a bit overrated because I think a lot of people look at it and think like, oh, it's a massive amount of DR, but you actually get hit a lot in this game. It's not going to be as up as high as you think, but at this point I've gotten pretty much everything else I really need. You know, wasn't quite sure where else to put my points, so Branded Burst. Over here, this is great to protect you against one-shots. And plus you need your +5 max ailment stacks. I know somebody is going to be like, why didn't you get this? This doubles your damage. This only works on non-crits. If you hit something with damage, and, you know, 10 times and 7 out of 10 of those hits are crits, when this repeats, it's going to repeat all those 10 hits as non-crits. And actual non-crits. Not like, oh yeah, it's like actually doing critical damage with displaying as non-crit. No, I tested this pretty extensively. This is really good if you're not crit. It's the more crit you get, the worse it gets, and I think I'm sitting at something like a 500%, 473% multiplier at this point. So for me, it's actually pretty bad. Plus, you know, I don't have a way of reliably inflict. I don't have Aether right now set up to inflict properly. Like, I might get it eventually for 2 points once I, you know, squeeze Aether into the build, but because it's not like that bad, obviously. But yeah, I wound up cutting it because, yeah, as I said, it really doesn't do much for a crit build at all. Max resources, you know, pretty much every build gets those nodes. Crit damage, again, minus 30% damage. If you're coming from PoE, you're going to be like, you would think that, like, oh yeah, even for a crit build, this node looks really bad, right? Because 100% crit damage, but you're losing 30% all damage. Well, crit damage is based off your hit damage. This game doesn't work like that, don't worry. That only applies to A, your regular hits, and B, it's additive again, so yeah, you don't really care. You know, you just take it anyway. Status ailment chance score, again, self-explanatory. This node over here, this is great. Salvatory Anchor plus the little node after it. These basically double the amount of ult resist you get from your chest on your helm. So you get, you know, you can get a lot of resist. I've got a 1k chest and I've got a 600 helm right now, and you can actually get better than these. But yeah, this is what I have so far. And as you can see, I'm sitting at 83, 85, 87% on resist, so it goes up to 90% cap. I would like to get them to 90 eventually. We'll see. But yeah, I know I'm going to get questions like, why aren't you block? Well, basically, I wound up switching to a two-hander after the block, OP block node nerf, because I just wanted more damage. And that made it a little harder to get block. I wound up getting a couple good ult res pieces and just kind of built off of that. And, you know, it works just fine so far. I basically never go down, and by never I mean like really like basically never. Like, and eventually I am going to try to add block onto this build to, you know, add another layer of defenses, because those two do, you know, stack quite a bit. If you have 90% ult res, you're taking 10% damage, and then if you have, you know, 100% block, 75% efficiency, you're taking 25% of that, which means you're taking 2.5% of all damage. Sounds pretty fucking good. Makes for a pretty tanky build. But yeah, getting block to cap on a two-hander requires a little bit more investment than a one-hander. I'm not even sure if you can get it to cap, actually. But yeah, I kind of like my two-hander right now, so I don't know if I'm going to switch at some point. Maybe if I find a really good one-hander, but yeah, that's another story. I think that more or less covers everything on the tree. The reason I was talking about that is because, yeah, that's why I went through the all res nodes over here, and not even through, you know, I just actually went over here just to get them specifically, is because we have to talk about stats. Yeah, these health nodes over here, this is increased health. This is actually, the toughness you get is actually also increased health. This is not flat, this is increased. So this kind of, the more toughness you have, the worse this becomes. You just, like, basically if you want to have really good HP at endgame, and good defenses, you want to get, you know, the resist helm, resist chest, those two nodes, and then every other piece should be bruiser. I mean, I have another heavy boots, because these were just really nice. I like the Frosty, I'll talk about that in a second. But yeah, every other piece is a bruiser, so you have the HP and all res together. So yeah, stats. Important thing about stats. When you're leveling a build in this game, you pretty much want to always be stacking ferocity or wisdom early game, because you need that crit chance or, you know, attack status to get your build to actually do good damage. Late game, like once you get I switched that around depth 140. You pretty much want to be all toughness, like no matter what, regardless if you're playing with a softcore or hardcore mentality. It doesn't matter your builds. You want to be all toughness. Why do you want to be all toughness? Because these things have like pretty big DR after a certain point. Like the game really doesn't want you getting close to 100% crit chance. So it's like relatively easy to get like 40ish crit chance. You know, you can kind of get 50 with not too much effort. But once you start pushing past that, you start getting DR'd really hard. Basically, when I swapped from toughness ferocity to toughness, I lost. I think 20% crit chance. I went from like 50 to 30, which has since then gone back up since I've recovered it in gear. I'm at like 43 right now. But my health tripled. Like when I spec'd full toughness, I went from like 27k to like 70k, and I've now pushed that to 90k. And again, there's still quite a bit more I can gain. This character is not even close to maxed out. I've got some nice items, like I managed to craft the sword yesterday. And I've been really spending a lot just crafting as much as I can. The game is a really good crafting system. It's one of the best parts about the game. And but yeah, there's still a lot more that can be gained. I think that covers just about everything in the tree. We got the block here. This is how we apply weakness. Even though I have a really low block chance, it's enough to, keep my stacks going. Yeah, leech, pretty much self-explanatory. You should, you can skip that if you have leech on your weapon, but it's only 1 point. You can also get 2% more over there if you feel like you want it. Yeah, I haven't gotten that yet. I probably will get that, after I get that in the next 2 levels. And yeah, as far as Fatal Pact goes, I've heard a lot of people talking about Fatal Pact. I've seen people like, saying it's not going to be a big issue with it killing you. I've also seen a lot of people just straight up dying to it, like all the time, even with high res and high HP. And it's really like, I don't know. I think it's kind of overrated compared to what else is on the tree. It really doesn't add you know, it's kind of somewhat of an inconsistent effect, and yeah, I don't know. It's something I haven't really made up my mind on yet. I definitely need to play with it a bit more, but like right now, I've been leaning towards other nodes on the tree instead. Okay, let's see. Gear. What's the important stuff? You need a weapon with basically a shitload of fucking flat. You know, two-hander if you want less damage, more defensive. You know, higher block. You can go one-hander shield. But yeah, we're using a two-hander here. I've got a fairly nice one. It's not quite optimized. Like ideally, I want two flats that are both material, and then the +% material status or material attacks with this weapon stat on that as well, and that would result in a higher top end. Also, my ideal suffixes, you know, would be material status chance, crit hit chance, and crit damage. Not what we have here. I have like a ton of other swords that I've been kind of like working on, and yeah, these were all crap. I don't remember where the good ones are. Here's one with material, but yeah, I'm trying to find one with the percent. But yeah, like I don't. Yeah, okay. Well, there's one with that percent LE, but that's what that stat looks like. That very last line, where it says percent LE damage with attacks on this weapon, that's locally multiplicative with all your, you know, all the stuff on the weapon. So it's basically a more multiplier to that particular type. This one's elemental. Obviously, you would want material. Why do you want material? Why don't you just go elemental? Well, that's because Bleeding Edge converts fucking everything to bleed. And by everything, I mean like everything on the weapon itself, including the gems. So if I put like Aether and like cold gems on here, those would become bleed. Your other added on gear works fine. It's just everything on the weapon itself becomes bleed. So one of your ailments is always going to be bleed, and you want to be focusing either like, you know, material status chance or elemental status chance, because as you can see that big fat line on the weapon, 311 elemental, you know, it's going to be one or the other. You can't really have both. I mean, even if you could have both, you don't want both because it takes up 2 lines. You want to really focus one. This is why my setup isn't completely optimized right now. It's like I would like to be purely material and be inflicting like, you know, bleed toxic or something with my weapon. Like that's something I'm still trying to work on, you know, craft a more specific weapon. Hopefully I can get that done. But yeah, because I have flat lightning on my gear right now on 2 pieces, that actually winds up being my second highest ailment, which is why I inflict bleed and shock, and which is why my chances, you know, aren't consistent. Like ideally I would like to have, you know, both materials, so both those chances are at 25 instead of one being at 12. But as you can see, like, you know, the damage is still plenty high. Flat gems are always better than anything else on the weapon, you know, but it's hard to roll 3 type 1 sockets, so settling for 2 type 1s and a type 3 is fine. Other key stats on gear. Boots, you want move speed. Oh yeah, I should talk about like just attributes on gear. So yeah, as I was saying, these two get diminishing returns, you know, past a certain point. But basically, what it means is that once you get to endgame, ideally, you know, you want all your actual points spec'd into toughness, and you want to get your ferocity and wisdom just off of gear. As you can see, I'm up to 43 crit chance again, and that's with 0 points actually invested in the ferocity, because, you know, I've got 72 over here, 42 over here, 71 over here, 80 over here. Again, I've been keeping an eye out for ferocity on gear. You know, I've got a little wisdom here and there as well. You know, helps out. I think that was most of the pieces of the ferocity. But yeah, so key stats and other pieces of gear. You know, boots, move speed. Pants, you just want like overall really good piece. Like you don't need that CDR on there. That's just a relic left over from a previous build. This is probably one of the pieces I'm looking to replace the most. Gloves and shoulders, all these pieces, regardless if you're playing this build or another build, you want that rage and willpower cost reduction. Obviously, you know, it's huge. You know, it lets you use your skill more, like with using potions less. You know, it helps with uptime, etc. You want that on all 4 of these pieces, and other than that, you know, just good health and resists. This one was kind of a shit piece, but yeah, I liked that crit chance. That resource generation stat doesn't work right now, by the way. But yeah, it had good crit chance, good material resist. This I think I may have something actually crafting right now. I can't remember, a different glove, which is why I might have been using this one, whatever. But yeah, as you can see, like other stats you want to look for, critical hit chance. Attack speed's not that good, but it's not bad. So it's kind of like, it's alright, but you know, ideally you're looking for those health, ul res, you know, flat crit chance, your ferocity stat, you know, that kind of stuff. As you can see, I've got really good ul res pieces on my non-helm and chest, with my, you know, helm being a nice 600, chest being a nice 1000, and that's what contributes to these scores being so massive. Rings, you want steel ring bases with flat to attacks that corresponds to your right kind of ailments. As you can see, like these are really old. I'm actually going to be crafting like a new ring pretty soon, which is why I haven't upgraded this to legendaries, because you know, as I said, I want to get rid of my lightning and then eventually switch to material. But yeah, So, I mean, this isn't steel, but it has crit damage hit on the ring itself, so it kind of settled for that. These percent resist scores you're seeing on this, like percent elemental resistance score, percent material resistance score, it lands on jewelry. Here you can see 38, 39 over here, material all res, and this one has 33 all res as well. These are multiplicative with your res as well. Like if I take this off, you're going to see a pretty big drop. So yeah, that's also how you get your resist pretty high. You want these two pieces, and then all those jewelry having those percents to all res or percents to specific res if you can't get all res as much as you can, and that will boost your defenses pretty high. Yeah, all res gems. I stuck a block in there because I couldn't get a third all res. All res here. Here I have a couple health. I haven't quite decided what's the perfect balance between health and all res. I feel like I could probably use like 1 or 2 more health gems because my increased HP is really high. Like this pants has what, like 2.5k HP, 89k HP. Like it's adding like 20k HP. Like the multiplier from toughness on increased HP is actually like really crazy. So 2.5k becoming 20k. It's like what, I have like something like 800% increased HP or something ridiculous like that. Which is also why the increased HP nodes on the tree are like relatively shit. Even the 15% ones. They're great leveling early game. Like take them early game for sure. But in end game, once you've got that much increased HP from your toughness, those 15% nodes are relatively small, which is really kind of crazy coming from PoE mindset where it's like a 15% HP node on the tree would be like, ooh, that's huge. It's like, well, it is huge early game. Late game, not so much. I think that covers it for key stats. Crit damage on jewelry as well. It's 500% crit damage. You could upgrade rares to legendaries at the crafting thing. I'm not going to talk too much about that this video. Maybe I'll do a separate one about that. But yeah, basically most of these gear has been crafted by getting a rare with 4 good stats. Either dropped or finding one with 3 and then crafting a 4th. Throwing it in the oven and then hoping it hits a 5th good stat, and then using a gem, crafted targeting again to put on that final 6th good stat. It's basically how this sword was crafted. It's not a perfect 6 stats, but it is technically a 6 stat item, and as you can see, it's got quite a bit of top end. So yeah, this thing hits pretty hard. I think that covers it for all the endgame stuff. Other skills I'm using is, this shield charge is pretty nice. I'm a big fan of it. You can also have an item that allows you to use Aether Jump, which gives you a willpower dump. A lot of people are really big fan of that. I'm a big fan of this charge because even though it takes a little skill to use, you have to go around obstacles and stuff. You can go really, really far with it, and it's really, really fun to use. Shout is nice. I can't remember what I've glitched for that. I'm not even going to bother looking because I kept messing with it, and I'm not really sure what's up with it. And I was starting this with these. I mean, honestly, like, this does so much damage. It's yeah, you basically almost don't even need anything else. And I started setting up this to use stamina. I was going to experiment with using this instead of a dodge roll because this generates rage. So you can basically kind of turn this into a dodge replacement. And yeah, I think that covers it for endgame. For leveling, you can level this as we can respec anything and anything in this game. I actually leveled this as originally as a ranged build to about depth 124, where I kind of just decided my weapon wasn't that good anymore. I wasn't finding that good of a weapon. I had some good two-handers. I said, fuck it, let's just go the OP shit. And yeah, I've been playing that since. I kind of tried to avoid this for a while because we knew it was like really, really OP and it's going to get nerfed. But I mean, it's so far ahead of everything else in the game. You're going to be able to get so much further, and it's actually a relatively enjoyable skill to play as well. It's basically Blade Vortex from PoE, so it's got, the really good mechanics. Not quite as long duration as PoE, but, it's pretty close. Uniques, there aren't any really crazy uniques for this build, with the exception of one major thing, the belt called the Trial, which applies Mark of Impurity, and that is the curse, which can then be set up to prolif, and as well as explode enemies, and it basically like damn near doubles your damage as well. If you're a one-hander, you can. I think you have to be like. I don't think you can apply. I can't remember if you can apply with a one-hander or not, or a shield. I mean, or not. A catalyst. I think it would require I can just fucking check. It requires a gun or something. Okay, you can use it with a dagger. and a pistol. But yeah, basically the best way to apply this thing is with the belt, because it applies it on hit. So you just hit things in the curse, automatically it's applied to everything getting hit. And it works with the runes on the skill, like all of these, including this killed and the spread. These are the two important ones. So it basically gives your build, massively increased damage and corpse explosion spreading, so you get even closer to that PoE, bleed vortex, and pulsate feel. The belt is exceptionally rare, though. I've like well over 100 hours in this game now, and I have not found one. And from what I've talked to with other people, it's very, very, very rare. So if you find it, congratulations. It's pretty much the best in slot belt for every build in the game. So yeah, as far as leveling goes, stats, put ferocity, wisdom. You can spec pretty much anything. Obviously, you're not going to be specing ailments pretty soon if you want to level Bleeding Edge from the start, because the nodes for Bleeding Edge require, I think this is, I can't see the level right now, but it's like, you have to be like 30 or something to get this, so, it'll level just fine. Building is basic, fizz crit, you'd rotate this tree, so you're not going out through this, you'd probably path out through these health nodes and then go straight to Child of Fury and then, work things from there. It's not too complicated. Just look at the nodes, read them, think a little. But yeah, this is basically the end game tree, and you can use this as a foundation to see, understand like what you should be building like early game as well. So yeah, I think that covers everything. Just a reminder that it is getting nerfed. Oh yeah, I don't have this node because, as I said, I was messing around with this as a dodge replacement, but if you're not using this as a dodge replacement, you really want this. Dodge is pretty fucking unusable without this node. This makes a massive difference. So yeah, I think that covers everything. I hope you enjoyed the quick little video. Probably wound up being a little longer than I'd planned, but hey. Reminder that this build is literally getting nerfed on Friday. Today is Tuesday, so yeah, you've got like 4 days to play this build and smash out the end game and have some fun before it gets hammered. I might do an update to it, depending on how bad it gets nerfed. We'll see. Game has a lot of issues right now, so the next patch is probably going to determine whether I keep playing this game for now or just table it and then revisit it in a year. Because it does have a lot of potential, but it's got a lot of issues because the release was absolutely premature. And yeah, it's the buggiest and roughest release I've seen in my entire life. Like half the nodes on the tree don't work. I haven't even talked about bugs in this video at all, but that would be like another 30-minute video if I were to just talk about bugs. Yeah. Anyway, I'm Stupid Fat Hobbit. My Twitch is Twitch TV SF Hobbit. I'll be playing this build for at least a couple more days. If you have any questions, that's the best way to reach me, because I'm really, really bad at reading YouTube comments. Of course, there'll be a link to the skill tree and everything in the build description. I probably should have said that like 10 minutes ago, but hey. Have a good one, everyone, and good luck out there.